right? There's 2,000 kids in the Jewish day school system in Boston. 2,000? That's both a Kiddush or Shem, and it's enough to break your heart. When you think about how many kids are in this system.
It doesn't make sense to people. I mean, what's a day school? You know, I'm trying to ask people, like, what is a day school? People don't even understand. Like, what, another thing, another bill I have to pay?
So tell me, in school you had a bad experience in school, baby.
Bad experience.
Were the kids being mean to you?
Well, the teacher just wants to teach me about things that happened to people a long time ago, but I really want to understand what's happening to me today.
So what is a Jewish day school?
In my opinion, it's a school that teaches
feeling included, feeling that I belong, and a sense of accountability on the part of teachers that this is my kid.
This is Malka Winter here at the PEJE conference.
She's getting young people to talk about
I don't know, there are a couple of people that actually writing on that. Young people doing, talking about their Judaism.
Well, when I was a teenager, I moved into this new school that was very preppy. And I was like, Heidi of the mountains, with my, big flowy skirt.
I'm actually airing it nationally on Jewish Life Television.
There's a woman whose last name is Tobin. Actually, she got
You gotta look at this.
Okay, all right.
So you're waiting for Jeff, is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just tell you where he is.
So I'm going to go meet him now and I'll see you.
To be quite honest, I don't really know what's special about a day school, except that it teaches my kids Torah. I have yet to figure out what Torah really is.
Water. You know what? I'll switch because the waters are set up already. Kaboom. We're good.
I have so many mixed emotions about Torah because on one hand, there are so many things in the Torah that seem strange and that I could never identify with. But on the other hand, I know that there are basic rules of life that I could never possibly imagine living without.
PEJE, the Partnership for Excellence in Jewish Education, is a nationally based organization that's based in Boston. We've been around since 1997, and our goal is to increase excellence and enrollment in Jewish day schools.
You say go, I'll do it.
Go.
Hi, I'm Jeff Swartz from Timberland, and I'm a PEJE partner.
There are about 700 Jewish day schools throughout North America. At this conference, we are welcoming over 250 day schools from North America. That includes the United States and Canada. And we're also happy to be welcoming international guests from Panama Jewish schools, South Africa Jewish schools, Australian Jewish schools. So this is really a little bit, we can say it's a real multinational convention.
Coming together to share and to feel part of something that's really bigger than any one of us, bigger than any one city. That's the biggest takeaway for me.
I've been coming to PEJE conferences, the last few conferences, and each time it gets better and better.
We are a nationwide organization that believes that the day school movement is central to the Jewish future, and my wife and I are partners in that.
My name's Michelle Stravitz. I have 4 children. My oldest graduated 8th grade from our Jewish day school, and I have 3 children in Jewish day school right now. Let's start with the day school part because it's a little bit easier.
The school's an interesting school.
A day school is a full day program just like any other school that you would go to.
It's a school that provides an education that is rooted in Torah.
What is the Torah?
How do I define Torah?
First of all, I went to Jewish day school growing up, so I always knew I wanted to send my kids to Jewish day school.
Torah is the map of our lives.
I send my children to Jewish day school. It is the best use of dollars.
They get to learn the Hebrew language, which is really important to me. They get to learn to love Israel.
Was it in Israel?
Kol Yisrael Arivim Ze Bazeh, which means that all of Israel is responsible for one another.
It emanates out of the Torah Shebechtav, the written Torah that was given, that I believe, was given by God to Moshe and the Jewish people at Mount Sinai, and has been interpreted through the generations.
And I just want them to live it every day.
So to me, Torah is a way of life.
It doesn't say that all of Israel is responsible for all of Israel. It says all of Israel is responsible for one another.
That they understand it, but they also understand the process of studying it with questions and I think that you learn skills in Jewish day school that you can take into the rest of your life. When you study Torah and Mishnah, you're learning analysis skills that can be used across your life, and I found that in college when I took my first legal studies class, and I realized that was really Gemara.
Because life is complicated and life can throw you many, many curveballs.
It's for non-Jews and Jews alike, so it's a calling to go out and do everything you can to help all peoples.
Torah gives you that, it is an anchor for people.
So now they're building the foundation of knowledge and the right friends, and that's something that will stick with them forever, and they'll know forever that their parents made Jewish education a priority. Even though it's expensive, we made it a priority, and that will always be, part of their memory in terms of what was important to their parents.
And so from my perspective, having Torah helps me get through my day-to-day life.
So all of these differences between how various people consider themselves to be Jewish also apply to how schools manifest themselves as Jewish.
There are 16 Reformed Jewish day schools in North America.
Ben Chamesh Lamikra, right? So 5 years old, they're immersed in Hebrew language. Then we go through the entire Tanakh. We don't skip any parts. We don't do any midrash. We do the Peshat, the simple meaning of the text. And then in later grades, we go on to do the Mishnah in its entirety.
Teachings of the conservative movement, Orthodox.
36% is what I understand is Orthodox. I read it on the screen.
It's a Solomon Schechter, I think I'm going to kill you later, Solomon Schechter Day School Association. That's the conservative movement of Judaism. That's their organization.
It might be how you dress, it might be how you pray, it might be how you think of God.
Reform Judaism is the Judaism that says first and foremost that males and females are equal in all obligation of Jewish life, and that each Jewish person has the right to make his own choice about how to live his Jewish life.
They're sort of like different flavors of Judaism. The most common ones are Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform.
Reconstructionist, whatever it is. So I think there's differences.
But it's really a community school?
It's the school that you go to fulfill your state education requirements.
We have pre-K through 8, and we have 20 students.
We have each morning both an Orthodox Shacharit and an egalitarian one, so that anyone who wishes to daven can do so in a style in which they are accustomed.
It is a community day school that it has children from all places along the religious spectrum.
The Torah teaches us how we interact with people and how we interact with the world around us, and you're never too young to be focused on that.
So one day I came back from my old school and Ken told them that if I stay there, I'm gonna be, I was like, Ima ve'aba niye chiloniya. They just laughed because I even said the word wrong. I told them I'm gonna be secular. But it's like saying in English, I'm gonna be seculary. They just cracked up. Like, first of all,
we're here at the PEJE conference, learning a lot, sharing some of our experiences, sharing our successes and some of the challenges, but and a lot of opportunities with other fellow colleagues from the industry.
I can get public education for free, or I can go to an independent school like, whatever you call it, Barnes & Noble, where they have all these names up in Boston, all these fancy schools, and that's this independent school conversation. In the middle, you can send your kid to day school. And what do I get for that?
Here we are at Harvard Business School.
The point of the case study was, number one, to engage people in something that we would be doing collectively.
When Amy was talking about the case study, it made me think of learning Talmud. I love the process of learning that involves active dialogue where people can get angry and yell at each other and stretch their minds and stretch their ideas.
Support your community. Your school's closing. There's no school to go to.
So whether you go to Harvard Business School, or even whether you go to medical school, case study is the heart. It's an elemental piece of how people study.
welcome to the event of the Harvard graduate business students, where we're going to get to know the new dean of the school, Dean Oharia. She's beautiful. She's great. Dean Oharia is great.
Let's walk some chocolate. Oh my God. Sorry.
One of the things I really like about learning Torah is learning bechavuta, learning with a study partner, because it forces me to have a constant state of focus.
What is the name? Malka Winter.
It's the process of talking to each other that makes the learning happen.
When we talked to the field, the day school field, so whether it was the investors or the educators or the heads of schools, and we asked them in advance of this conference.
It takes a good solid year to plan a conference like this.
Sort of What's the big three? What's keeping you from achieving your purpose and making you crazy?
Major stressors today?
No, we're doing great. But again, I got to tell you, if I had kids, I would not tell them to go into Jewish education. You're doing absolutely terrifically.
They said affordability, right? Because the day school proposition, like every educational proposition in the developed world, is an expensive proposition. In American democracy, it's funded by the taxpayer. What about in the voluntary community of independent schools where there's no tax base to support it, right?
It's really expensive. And nobody seems to be talking to me about the economic problem that I'm having, that my friends are having about this school. I'm kind of upset.
Right? It's an expensive proposition, so they said it's really expensive. They said leadership is another big issue.
Strong leadership. The importance of strong leadership.
Who earn the respect of being leaders by others.
Right? How do we attract, same reason, how do we attract educators, administrators into this field? How do we create career opportunities for them?
And it really takes a lot of thinking, because it's not about, okay, let's just do it the way we've done it before.
And the third thing they said is, it's related to the first 2 points. We recognize that the universe of people who are supporters of day school are fully invested and they care passionately, but it's necessary, but it's not sufficient. And so how do we reposition day schools as an asset within the community rather than an activity that the community takes on?
What is the imagination of the world that our students have?
And so they challenged me to think about that, because in my business I'm a brand builder. So we sell boots and shoes and clothes, and I'm very proud of the stuff that we make, but no one would say that the utility of the product is the reason that they purchase. Meaning, I'm naked unless I bought a Timberland waterproof jacket, or I can't walk to work unless I have a pair of Timberland hiking boots. Because if it's just a cover for your foot or shelter for your body, there's many less expensive alternatives available. So why would a consumer reach into his or her pocket and buy a brand, Ralph Lauren or Timberland or J. Crew, except we've created a relationship with the consumer that's based on value that goes beyond just cost, right? The consumer says, there's something valuable there that I want. And the question about day schools is exactly the same point. If all we keep talking about is affordability, meaning tuition's expensive, teachers are underpaid, we will be trapped in the how do we cut costs mode, or we'll be trapped in the how do we get the existing donor base to give more?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Now, everybody who's here and associated with the day school is pretty passionate about their work. And I know you're passionate about yours, and so you think about it all the time. And sometimes that's all you think about, and you're so busy thinking about your work that you forget to sort of walk around and see your work through other eyes. And so what I tried to say in the opening session was that there's a beautiful model. I cited a midrash from the Yalkut Shimoni talking about windows, right? He talked about in a normal building like the one we're sitting in today, windows are narrow at the outside and broad at the inside, so the light's supposed to funnel in.
I can't possibly feel, if I'm objective about it, that I was cast aside. If anything, I didn't let them off the hook. I should have let them cast me aside even more for the benefit of the school that we all love.
Do you mind just saying what Yalkut Shimoni is?
So the Yalkut Shimoni is an Aggadic midrashic collection. It's a midrash that's collected around commentary about the Tanakh, the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim.
Well, it's about the relationships that the day schools form within their community with the other people.
I think he was a German scholar. So he's thinking about a fortress on the Rhine, right? Narrow on the outside, wide on the inside. So you can look out and shoot your arrow.
Guys, wake up and smell it. The transitions are hard. They're always hard.
It goes out.
No, it's the other way around. It comes in.
I couldn't control myself. I had to talk to those teachers. I created such dissent, and they still didn't talk to me.
You want to channel the light into the castle. You were living in this dark castle.
So you're beveling it inwards.
All I was trying to do was take care of my people who really were my family. I was trying to take care of them because they were in distress, and y'all weren't taking care of them.
You are narrow on the outside, and you're wide on the inside. So the light comes in and spreads out in your building.
Like a camera.
Yeah, exactly, like the aperture of a camera.
Yeah.
It's been very energizing. People have really felt that we're touching some of the really important issues.
What's the purpose? It's cold and dark in this here castle.
Most of the time we spend is in our school.
What were the lessons learned from this case? What did we learn?
When it's a problem, you waste your time with negative energy, worrying and complaining, should be, could have been, would have been, should have been.
About being able to look at a problem through multiple perspectives so that they could hone their problem-solving skills.
The reality that even professionals can be very unprofessional.
Professionals can be very unprofessional.
Yes, they have no homes, so instead they use these little huts called sukkahs.
If you're running a day school and you're so busy trying to build the business inside, trying to raise the budget and educate the kids and satisfy the teachers and deal with the kvetchy parent who's really bummed out because the math curriculum doesn't seem to get little Moshe into Harvard. So you need all the light and energy you can have in the building. We get really internally focused. And I argued that that's a good thing. It's in fact necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Jewish institutional life has been very hard hit by that economic crunch. A great many institutions are struggling to survive. They've made major cutbacks. And the question is, will the supporters of those institutions really come from the next generation? So that's where some of the anxiety comes from.
Well, in our school, we do many things to address that. For example, we have a business ethics class in the high school level where we have the founder of Slim Fast coming to speak to the kids, and we have founders of very successful global companies so they understand and they get that perspective, and at the same time reconcile that with our Jewish values.
I'm going to ask them for maybe $1 million.
And the lord and ladies are doing whatever they're doing, but they can't see.
Because they were leaving Egypt, and in Egypt they weren't nice to them. They were slaves.
But in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, says the Yalkut Shmoni, it's exactly the other way around. It's narrow at the inside, and it's wide at the outside. Why? Because I'm shooting the light out. I'm sending the light out.
So they could be free?
The holiness is inside the temple, and it's outside where they need this light.
You can take it down and put it back.
And Diane and I were just talking about that, about the day schools having to project out and tell their story to a wider audience and not be insular.
For many, many, many years, Jewish education, Jewish communities, we all lived in our own little island, and we felt we had to solve our own problems and work in that little vacuum. I think now with PEJE and
had lots of help.
And so we have to learn how to adapt to that type of thinking. That it's not that we're stubborn about it. It's just we're stiff-necked. It's taking us out of our comfort zone, and we have to learn how to live in a new reality.
Right. We don't have to do it alone.
And we don't have to do it alone. We don't live in an isolated island, and I think that that's the difference. It's just learning how to do that.
Even better than we do it now.
So they could have a better life in Israel?
Was that the reality? Did the light from the Beis HaMikdash really emanate from inside the Beis HaMikdash?
So this is a midrash, and I don't know the answer to the actual architectural point, and I suspect he's not making that up, but I don't know.
It's what we're in.
He says two beautiful things. First of all, he says it's opposite of the way a normal person builds a building. Why? Because he wants you to understand that we have to send the light out into the world. Look, what the light of the Beit HaMikdash was this notion of Kedusha, of holiness that needed to radiate, right? So that the world could be transformed. But what in our Jewish communities is a more powerful sort of light than the light the kids face when he or she gets a piece of Torah, or understands a concept in art, or learns how to speak a foreign language, or develops a new mask? The kid's like on fire.
1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it really equals 3.
A sense of belonging to a tradition, not shoved down their throat, but brought to them in the beauty and magnificence that it is. That's light.
Let me know when you're ready.
That's light unto the nations notion, right? That's send the light out into the nations. And so I say to my day school friends, we live in the greatest engaged democracy on earth. Folks in Iowa don't say, I'm not investing in the Navy. There's no coastline in Iowa, right? But they invest in the Navy because a safe, secure America is relevant to them. Even though there's no Navy, the warships that go up and down the north, the east, and the west, Iowa's far away from the coastline, but people don't ask, they don't say, I'm not a Navy person. They say, I'm an American. They say, I'm a citizen of a great democracy. I want the same conversation in every community we do businesses in North America. I'm not a day school parent. Does that mean I don't send my particular child to day school? That's a choice you get to make. But that's different than saying, I don't understand the value of the day school at the heart of our community.
Integrity. Do what you're told. Do what you're supposed to do even when nobody's around.
Sometimes I see a kid in distress for whatever reason, and I say, well, what if this was my boy or my girl? What if it was my own child? What would I do? How would I fight for this kid?
Jewish education is so important. We need to create the next generation of leaders, and as a community, You know, we have to work together. So it is a challenge because these times are difficult, but with hard work and building community, it can be done.
How do we make it work with 20 students? We have a legion of dedicated volunteers.
The Navy is something objective everybody can see what the Navy does for us. The value of Torah, the value of Kedusha, is not something you can see. I mean, it's, you know, if you're lucky, you get to see it, you know, reflected in children's faces if you have that sensitivity. But what if you don't? And how do you market Torah? How do you market Kedusha? How do you market, you know, the strength that we could possibly create a society where every child feels love for themselves and love for each other and wants to do good for each other all the time because they see the objective truth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world. I mean, that's, how would you even begin to do that?
So,
like, I want my kids to, like, learn to enjoy life.
No matter what, you have to reach the child. So usually, you know, if you want to go into a house, you go through the front door. So go to the front door of this child, but if you can't, then go through the back door. And if you can't, then go through the chimney. And if that doesn't work, break the window. But whatever you do, you got to get into that child's heart. And I believe that that is fundamental part of belonging. A child understands fundamentally whether you love that child or not. And if you don't love that child, I don't care what instructions you have, it's not going to work.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu, tremendous nisim gluyim.
My position is I'm an agent of change.
So the Rambam says we begin with thoughtful analytics and we increase our knowledge, and by increasing our knowledge we draw closer to the truth, the truth that is beyond knowledge, right? We move from a sense of mechanics to yira, from a sense of yira to perhaps to a transcendence, to a notion of ahava.
Does it make you happy to give love or to have love?
Give love and have love.
It's so funny, just in sort of dumb, mechanical marketing terms, it's so hard to describe the light of the menorah. But it's but it's so easy to show the little kids sitting around on Friday afternoon. I'm the Shabbat boy, I'm the Shabbat girl. But our day schools are so inwardly focused. The windows are narrow on the outside and they're broad on the inside. And so we're so busy in the classroom focusing on, rightfully, and I understand how challenging it is to make sure the teacher's ready and the little grape juice is there and it's kosher and there's no peanut allergies. Great, I get it. But
just taking care of day-to-day business.
Day-to-day business. And I respect that. I'm the head of our day school. I know how hard it is. But if you just lift your head up and you look around, you think there's room in this room for other eyes, right? There's room in this room for other people to understand the illumination. It's our job to make them see.
What is Hashem? Hashem is in the faces of every Jewish person. That's what it is. We have a chelek from Hashem, so every Jew is a reflection of that mirror. A very small, minute part, but a very powerful part. And so when I see you, I have to smile. Why? Because I recognize Hashem in you.
The power that's there.
Yeah, and it's not selling an idea, Malka. It's selling a reality. It's much harder to sell an idea.
I see me in you, right? I see the potential of what Hashem has done, and then I give to you, and by giving you a smile, by giving you an encouragement, by telling you that wasn't probably a wise thing you did. How else would you do it? And it's learning, teaching, but Hashem is love.
You have to believe with 100% faith that it is reality.
You just have to bring people to it and let them make their own judgment. I am a huge believer in the old Alka-Seltzer thing. Try it, you'll like it, right? And when people say, I'm not a day school parent, I think you haven't been in a day school.
So we study Talmud Torah, V'neged Kula.
They chose some songs they already knew and also learned a new one because they always want a new challenge.
There's a spark inside of you, waiting to return.
Here, and we wanted people to see the reality of Jewish day schools.
Now, you haven't been in our day school. You should come to our day school. And by the way, the building is average. The teachers are as brilliant as they are, but they're not perfect. And the kids don't behave all the time, and that's true. And sometimes in Gemara class, you'll see a kid doing what he shouldn't be doing. But if you look with open eyes, that's all I ask you to have is open eyes. I'll take the odds. It's not 100 out of 100, but I'll take the 70 out of 100 every time because they'll come back and, oh, that's what you meant by Kedusha. It's hard to describe. You have to feel it. Rosh Hashanah is hard when it falls out in Shabbat because you have to hear Kol Shofar and it's not being blown. That's what's so powerful, Rosh Hashanah, when you actually hear this urgent blast hit you in the chest. We have the same central experience. It's in the day schools. And so we have to take the walls down. We have to invite the community in to see, feel, rejoice, participate, bask in this light. And that's why I use the Yalkut Shimoni, because he says, send the light out. Send the light out.
But the light is essentially the experience of Kedusha, and that's not something I could just imagine you're a marketing genius, you would know how to market that. That's the biggest challenge, is you're taking something that's abstract, surreal, but it is, you're right, you can convey it in an experience, but how do you?
That's the whole, you said it in one sentence. When you're standing at a wedding and they're dancing in a circle and you're not in the circle, it's different than when somebody reaches out and grabs you and pulls you into the circle.
How do you do that?
How do you reach out and grab someone and bring them to the circle? In our community, it's literally a retail conversation. There's nothing more powerful than a retail conversation. The best ads in the world are only some effective. The best ads. Everybody agrees, every marketer will agree, the most important marketing is word of mouth. When your friend says to you, Malka, it's me, Miriam, and you know who she is, and you trust her, and you believe in her, and she says, you should try this restaurant. It tastes better by definition. We create this intellectual, hard thing to sell. I don't like the selling notion. So if you ask me to go out and sell,
intellect doesn't sell.
That's exactly my point. If you're trying to go out and sell the idea of day school, you're starting below sea level. You got to dig yourself out to get to normal. Whereas if you say, come experience the joy of transformation that this education has meant for me, my family, and my community, it's a better selling proposition. It is.
I say, okay, no hugging in the class, in the school. This is not allowed. This is the school. You have to be miserable. And everybody cracks up. And they understand exactly what I'm saying. And I think if we are so bogged down with the detail and we forget the other piece of the relationship.
I started producing television last year, and what I've learned so far is that the only thing that's really real in the world is the emotional connection that exists between people.
100% correct.
That is what Israel stands for. And I think if we were able to do that, we'd be much better suited to go out into the world and support Israel, and we might feel better about it ourselves.
They don't run car ads that say, I have 4 tires and I go really fast. They some music and something you think, that's the picture I'd like to be in. It's a really interesting question to ask young Jewish adults. What's the picture you'd like your children to be in? And if the answer is Harvard, but I'm not against Harvard, even though I got rejected as an undergraduate and from business school, I'm a 2-time loser. If the answer is finer, University of XYZ, that's a good answer, right? Is that the whole answer? No, actually, if you probe, that isn't the whole answer. I mean, I want Johnny to go to Harvard, but I want to make a good job too. Keep going. Well, I want to get married, and she's got to be Jewish. Really? How come? I don't know. I mean, it has to be. Oh no, I know that trick. Absolutely, it's got to be Jewish. Yeah. And what do you?
Trick though, it's all
keep going. Now that you married somebody Jewish, Azma. Now what? And what? Yeah. Well, I don't know. And there, I'm not mad at the parents. I'm not. I'm mad at us, right? Because we talk about Jewish continuity as a goal. We talk about Jewish continuity as a goal. So let's see. Jewish continuity. Continuity means we're going to extend the present into the future. That means we're not going to feed our children. We're going to give them a substandard Jewish education. We're not going to care for the elderly. We're not going to find an advocacy platform from Israel that works. That's Jewish continuity. Another view is to say, I'm going to reimagine the Jewish future. Now, can you describe that? Because if you can, in your community, and I assert in Boston, we can assert a view, an emotional view of, just like in the voice of the Navi. The Navi says, the shining city on the hill. That's exciting. Ronald Reagan gets elected, not by saying, I will lower taxes. Ronald Reagan gets elected by saying, don't you wish that you would live in America that would be a shining city on the hill? It's not rhetoric, it's a vision. People say, that's the America I want.
Anybody who's here tonight is going to get the most incredible Hanukkah present you could ever get. This is going to be the most beautiful Hanukkah present you could ever have.
Where's that vision in our community? Our vision is, we need to raise 10% more in the Federation than we did last year. That is not a vision. That's a tactic, and it's a tactic to serve what end?
It's a Zohar. Everybody likes when they get Zohar and they get quiet, right? And the Zohar's, they got something special to say. So what's the Zohar? What does the Zohar say? The Zohar says in Parshas Nayach like this. It says, after the world was destroyed by the Mabul, there was nothing left, no way for the world to continue. Nayach sent out a Yonah to rejuvenate, to regrow, to start the rebirth of the world.
Right? God says, build this ark. Rashi says he's been, I think, 120 years in the backyard building an ark. while the generation watched by, wow, he had some vision, okay? But when he got on the ark, what was the vision? And I fear, and I mean no disrespect to a biblical hero like Noah, he didn't articulate a vision beyond, I want to get out of the rain and into dry land.
Just self-preservation.
Yeah, well, maybe even been more. Maybe I want to preserve the animals. I want to do what God told me, right? I don't have a vision beyond that. But the problem is, the pasuk says, Ach Noach, only Noah survived. Because the vision was described wasn't, here's where were his kids? Why? Why did his kids not get it?
Didn't go to the best schools in terms of gearing towards emotional education and tolerance. So I had a lot of issues growing up.
And it's not just, as you say, it's not just articulating the vision. It's, you got to let people feel it and see it and touch it.
Society he lived in. He lived in a society where rape was adamant, where stealing was adamant.
He lived in 2010. He lived in the world we live in right now.
They said that you put peas out on the street and people would just come and grab everything that you had in 2 seconds.
I don't hate it. I just don't feel comfortable with it and had a bunch of bad experiences and I don't really want to talk about it.
Sometimes even if you know the internal truth of your spirituality and your identity and what's true and what's real in the world, you lose confidence that that can really be expressed in the world.
And so we need to be in community with people who share values against a vision that is beyond continuity but is towards an imagined Jewish future that's compelling. If we can describe an imagined Jewish future that's compelling and we can give people emotional experiences, glimpses of that, right, then we can build this model.
But what we found is that the great nonprofits seem to go beyond that and they focus on advocating to create policy change so that their impact extends beyond just the four walls of their organization.
There's a Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, and I can't tell you the daf because I can't remember it, where this Roman fancy woman says to one of the great Rebbeim, I had this dish at your house and it was really delicious. Get me the recipe. And he gets her the recipe and she makes it and she says, it didn't taste like you left. It's like, your grandmother passes your recipe, leaves one thing out because she likes the recipe her way. So she says to him, you didn't give me the full recipe. He says, I gave you every ingredient. She said, it's missing a spice. He said, no, you ate it in my house on Shabbos. It's missing the spice called Shabbat. The emotional experience of a Jewish reality.
Dear King, Shabbat is not an ingredient. It begins each Friday night when the sun goes down.
You can make cholent. Cholent taken out of Shabbos is kind of like not so special. Cholent, Shabbos with the right people singing the right songs, it's like fit for a king, right? We wouldn't try to sell cholent as the national food of the Jewish people, but cholent in the context of Shabbat, everybody smiles. Everybody who's had a Shabbos like that. That's what we have to do with the day schools. We got to season it with a spice of experience.
Film it. I want to film it anyway. No, but I understand what you're saying. You're saying that but how do day schools overcome the pressures, the financial pressures of the day-to-day getting things done, and ignore all the stress of parents and money and tuition and all the negativity, and focus and put all that aside, all that stress, all that distraction aside, and focus on creating the most beautiful spiritual experience possible? How does that happen?
And the other aspect of this is that that Jewish institutions are the crucible in which Jewish life is forged. And if those institutions are starved for funds, as they currently are starved, then the quality of the education, the quality of the programming, the quality of the religious life and of the synagogues, for example, will diminish, and that will then affect the next generation of Jews.
How do you give 100% of your energy to creating the best educational experience, and 100% of your energy to radiating the light out into the community, and 100% of your energy to take that light in the community that's now attracted people and slot them into the conversation and let them have experience of it too? The day school by itself can't do that. It can't. The argument is that it takes a village. The argument, and I'm not trying to channel Hillary Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, but I am telling you she's right about this, right? That the day school as a pillar, as a separate, distinct notion of community is doomed to optimization. It'll never transform. It can't, because it requires the resources of the community to be galvanized to it. And so it requires, there needs to be a vision at the level of the community. And that vision has to include the federations and the shuls and the adult education programs and the day schools. And that vision that includes these, now we each have our role to play. The day school person has their role to play, and the adult educator has their role to play. That's where we create this network, this web, where each individual person in our community can find his or her way to Torah on his or her terms.
Well, the reason has a great deal to do with what we know about the power of immersive Jewish experiences.
But the essential piece of the vision from the leader of the community needs to be what the emotional experience is, and that the emotional experience is more important than anything else. It's more important than, you know, what kind of clothes you're wearing, or how kosher you are, or how religiously observant you are. Are you Reform? Are you conservative? Are you Orthodox? Are you egalitarian? Like, none of that matters in comparison to the emotional experience of being together as a Jewish people and experiencing, you know, the objective reality of Hashem and the Torah together.
So a really smart guy, one of my teachers, a guy named Leslie Wexner, who is the founder of the Limited Brands, said to me once, I had the privilege to learn from him over a period of years. He said to me about retail. So we're back in the business of shoes and jeans and things like that. He said to me, until product is right, nothing matters. You can do everything else right, but if the product's not right, the consumer's reaction is going to be like, nice store, but I'm not buying. He said, but when the product is right, then everything matters. And so the analogy to me is, until we can articulate a vision that's compelling, right, that's Torah-centric and compelling, all the different programs that we're doing matter, but they're never going to get the job done.
Because the desire's not there.
Our emotions are more important than anything. I remember only emotional experiences that I went through.
It takes hard work. And you think, I don't have time for vision. You don't have a hope without a vision. Okay, so communally we have to come together and do the hard work of building vision. By the way, the Torah is clear about this in 100 different places. If people bring their hearts to it, you can go from the plural to the singular. Look at the narrative description in the Chumash of the creation of the Mishkan and watch the verbs switch from plural verbs to singular verbs. Right? It's they were there, and then he was. There's not one person. It means they came together. Agud achat. That if you focus the energy and do the work to build a vision, you can bring together disparate points of view to one commonly held vision, passionately held. And then you break back into, okay, you execute your piece, and I'll execute mine.
If he wants to help produce the Jewish future, then we're going to need his support. We're going to rely on his support.
That's what I think is so incredible about PEJE, is the fact that it started with this vision and that they're able to successfully execute it throughout, because it's just so inspiring for me to be here and see people from so many different denominations.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm going to practice exactly what he said. I'm going to do it word for word. And I'm going to rip it off.
And to see all these people from all these different walks of religious life together for one purpose, and you know, and talking to people, it becomes so apparent. I was talking to one Orthodox woman and then someone who's Reformed. It doesn't matter what denomination you are. Relationships between people and the conflict and the resolution and the dynamicism of interpersonal relationships are the same no matter where you are, what school you are. Everybody has to deal with the same stuff.
If we can frame the conversation towards an outcome that everyone nods their head at, then there's no reason why you can't take 1,100 individual passionate souls and focus them in one common direction. That is, in fact, PEJE's mission, right?
Our future is inextricably tied to education and to strongly held vision, a vision that empowers you and each of us to tackle the challenges of the day.
We're not trying to create one day school, we're trying to create a day school movement. We're not trying to create a day school movement for the sake of education. We're trying to create a day school movement because we want to transform the future of the Jewish people. We're not trying to build schools, we're trying to build a Jewish future. We're not trying to build educators, we're trying to build a Jewish future. We're not trying to educate kids, we're trying to build a Jewish future. And so we need every spectrum, every soul, every bit of skill, experience, and passion, and it starts with a vision. But it doesn't end there. It starts with a vision, and then we practice hard. That's what this assembly is about. Getting people skills, getting people experiences, getting people a chance to sit around a table and talk to each other and find ways to, that could work in my community.
Good morning, Mia. Good morning, Mia. Good morning, Eli. Good morning, Jillian.
It's lifting up the sparks, like the Zohar says, and whoomph, imagine that kind of light.
Who's out there that can be a more effective messenger than, frankly, even we were?
I know who I am. There's no way to hold it.
We worked on a program called Box Tops for Education, where we got schools to actually be out there encouraging folks to to buy the product. So again, as I think about sort of what it would take, I think the first is answer the question, only we. And I think the second is figure out who your most impactful messengers, and they may not be you.
No more hiding who I want to be. This is me.
There's a very famous thing I was in the Gemara, and I can't tell you again where it is, and this I don't remember. I think this is in Zvachim, but I'm not sure. And it describes one of the great sages, literally, I'm not making this up, lying on his stomach in the Beit Midrash, asking a question. Why would the Gemara tell you he's lying on his stomach, talking? I mean, it has nothing to do with the point at hand. So the Gemara is saying out loud, you know, can you imagine what Yavna looked like, sitting in their rows? Some guy's lying on the ground, and yet they valued the diversity of his educational experience. They valued his point of view. So, okay, everyone's supposed to sit in a chair. This guy, in order to say what he needed to say, need to lie on the ground. If you did that in one of our schools, we'd throw you out of the class. The Gemara is saying out loud, one size doesn't fit all. That we have to create a community vision of education that takes every kid, instead of special needs being not normal, special needs mean, no, that is the norm. Every child has special needs. And so how are we going to meet every special child's special needs? Not good or bad. Every child learns differently. So I think the ultimate vision is a community that is committed to educating every one of its children so that he or she comes to Torah.
If you don't fit into that box, then you don't belong anywhere. And I think we have to create different boxes.
Of all the things that I do, the most important interaction I have every single day is the interaction I have with children.
Yeah, and we have somebody, a special ed teacher there full time. And we have Hebrew support for people who have a hard time with a second language.
Kids matter.
Well, we don't have enough people coming in who don't know anything. We have, unfortunately, our kindergarten is our major spot, our major point of entry.
Like, what if somebody has like a 10-year-old or 12-year-old who's thinking, okay, maybe I want to send my son to a day school.
We do our best. Yeah, we would take them and we would work with them.
Really?
We would give them everything that we can, and it would still be worth their while.
And how do we teach parents that it's okay? Parenting doesn't come with a manual. You know, this is me. I come into the world with a manual, and this is my name. They have to figure it out, and the teacher, in that sense, is the kid.
How are you able to create that emotional experience in such a in all these different ways, in all these multifaceted ways with all these different schools?
Well, we have 14 different day schools in Boston, and there's a perceived need for 14 different schools. The individual needs of the diverse student body that is the Jewish community means that one size simply will not fit all.
Through the process of getting to know all the incredible educators and leaders at PEJE and Mr. Swartz, I've been figuring out that Torah is the ability to take all of our thoughts and feelings and desires and abilities and strengths and talents, everything that exists internally, and express it externally.
Pirkei Avot, can I get the wisdom of the fathers?
Torah gives me the support and knowledge I need to know how to love myself.
So it's about bringing the community into the day schools, allowing them to experience the beauty of what's happening in the day school, and once that happens, you really believe the experience of the reality of the day school experience as it exists in reality right now is enough to effectively market what day school is all about.
I like to lead to feel because I feel like I have a closer connection with God.
Brilliantly said. If we could make the light of the existing reality hit people in the eyes, their retinas would tell their brains there's something good here.
Did you feel a sense of belonging when you grew up?
Even as it stands today. And that's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is. It does exist. It does exist. You're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be perfect. It exists beautifully right now.
So get them to stop watching the show, get up off the sofa, and go visit your day school.
Oh, my vision is to film what's happening in day schools and air it all over the world.
Knock them dead.
Should look at the graduates, should look at the teachers, spend a day in the school. Do your research. This is a big investment.
My kids go to a school where caring for one another is the most important subject taught.
You're human. And if you don't have food, clothing, etc., what business is it of human rights?
That's why we chose our school, because of an incredible woman who had the vision to know that deep, deep inside a child's soul is an incredible fire that just needs to find expression.
I'm a little bit on the nutty side of this job, but I answer 700 emails a day, okay? I work my tail off.
Jane Cohn. Doesn't get better than that.
She has a real knack for picking up on the text below the text, kind of the emotional text.
And to build a structure that would support that vision.
So, kol hakavod to all the attendees and to the staff behind the scenes. And we should go from chayil to chayil in the journey that we're doing for Jewish education.
You forgot one. Mr. Blechner, who runs this place with his heart and soul.
Thank you. Shkoach.
We can never think about the next 1 year or 2 years. We should always be thinking as far in advance as we can to secure the future of our schools. I'll say this in all honesty, it's a really hard job.
And I just thank PEJE for everything that you've done to help facilitate this incredible learning experience for us. We really appreciate it.
There's nothing in life as a problem. Everything is a challenge.
So I think within each community, there are
opportunities for that.
Yeah, there's a wisdom network, a Selach Harav.
Thank you so much.
This is fun.
Thank you so much.
Wow. How are we doing at the time, boss? You okay? This is fun.
Realize what you're celebrating. You're celebrating the schools of the Torah that save the entire world.
Wind back.